You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Hey everyone, good morning. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us, and we're live on CKLU 96.7 FM on the radio and streaming live at cklu.ca on the internet. All you do is you click on the Radio Player Canada app. After going to cklu.ca, you see the Radio Player Canada app. You click on it, you stream us. If you want to take us with you and listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device, all you have to do is download the Radio Player Canada app, and you can do that very thing. While you're at cklu.ca, make sure to check out the various merch that we have for sale. That will also help support, if you buy the merch, it'll help support the station, keep the lights on, keep the radio waves open. And it'll keep your campus and community radio station going strong, because we rely on people like yourself in order to fund the station. It's pretty much a community-supported radio station with some help from Laurentian University's student body. But there were some glitches in legislation at some point a few years ago, started by Doug Ford and then reversed, but Laurentian University, in that glitch, the amount of funding that we used to receive from the student body has diminished considerably. And so we definitely do rely on your donations. So thank you very much for those who donate, and those who are thinking of donating, head on over to cklu.ca, and we appreciate all the help that you can give us. We're also streaming live at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow the channel and the page. Also comment. We'll do our best to get your comments read for those listening, up on the screen for those watching. The show is also found on demand, so if you miss it first thing in the morning live between 7:30 and 8:30 each and every weekday morning, you can catch it live on those two platforms, along with twitter.com/Sudbury News and Sudbury.news. It's our news aggregator. We developed that in response to recent legislation by our government to make it that no longer can news be shared on Facebook, the world's largest platform. Most communist countries, you can share news on Facebook, but in Canada, you can't. But you say, but wait, that's because the government wanted to create more money for media. And the media said, no, we didn't want you to do that. We love sharing our news on Facebook. Please don't do that. And they did it anyways, and now it's not shared. And no money, no extra money is coming in for local media. So, yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. So I hope whatever new government comes in to replace the current one of their first items of business will be to reverse that, because it's just a convenient platform to share news. News organizations loved being able to just put their news up on Facebook and have people share it around. And then they had more followers. And when they had more followers, they can get people to go to their website. It was basically a marketing tool. It wasn't there to make money for the news organizations. But however, they did make money, because they entered into an agreement with Facebook to have ads and things like that. And they had revenue sharing, similar to YouTube. And the larger the news organization, the more money they would bring in from Facebook. I believe it was a ploy to shut down Facebook, because independent media had a hand up doing that because they had a platform where they could reach millions of people easily, and their news was shared as well along with the other ones, and they were getting more shares and more eyeballs because they shared more actual news than the larger news organizations, which are compromised because they're actually paid for from our federal government's money, your money really, but through the government, which then they get their way. Instead of just making it so that way you just pay them directly for the news that you appreciate, the government thought, well, we'll just take your money and we'll give it to the mainstream news, the news that we commission and we like, and we basically, I will say, control, for lack of a better word. And these independents are actually out doing real journalism. We don't want that. We don't want them sniffing around. We'll make it so that way they can't share their news, and we'll make it sound like we want to make money for all news, and we'll look like we're fighting the big bad tech giants. You know, it's just a smoke and mirrors wrestling, WWE spectacle, basically. That the bottom line is the ones who were hurt the most were the independents and people that were out for real news. But we always find a way to get our real news anyways. And people that are interested in finding the truth and getting to the bottom of things will find things and get to the bottom of things. And those that won't will just take whatever spoon fed to them and just believe whatever they hear. And you just have to ask yourself which one of those people you are. And you're okay with that. And it's okay to be either one, honestly. Like, look, it's just the results that happen if you want to just be informed by people that are paid off by the government to tell you what to believe, and that's what you are okay with. Just know that that's okay. It's still somewhat a free country to be able to do something like that, right? So appreciate you for whatever kind of news you want to consume. And just remember, you're of great value and of great worth, no matter who you are. And but it just, I think things will work better in your favor the more that you actually want to know real knowledge. It's like making a cake, right? If you just want to make a cake however you want, without any instructions, without really knowing how a cake is really made, and you feel really strongly about that, and you just go ahead and just try things out, eventually maybe you'll get a good cake. I have no idea. However, there's probably better ways of making a cake, and you find a good recipe. You ask people who've made it before, say, are there any tricks and tips to this cake thing that I could, and you'll end up probably with a better cake quicker than someone who's just kind of just going off the top of their head without any knowledge whatsoever, right? So it'll serve you better the more you want to find out real information, especially if you want to be involved in any kind of conversations with people about world events or community events. To be informed is really cool. It just really helps. It just does. Anyways, that's been my experience speaking from my own. And speaking of my own experience and what I'm saying, the whatever's being said on this show, the views and opinions are that of myself, my own, when I'm speaking. When I have a guest on, it's that of their own or a co-host. And when I have people commenting and I read their comments, those comments are those people's alone, and they don't necessarily reflect those of Laurentian University or CKLU, your campus and community radio station, the two of them. They don't reflect CKLU or Laurentian University staff or faculty necessarily, right? They're that of our views alone. And as far as I know, still people can have views and opinions that don't align with other people's. And I think it's pretty healthy when you have your own opinion and someone else has their own opinion and you're able to share it and you feel safe enough that you can share your opinion. However, if someone wants to maybe ask you a question about your opinion or has a different opinion, we shouldn't be offended and we shouldn't be hurt if somebody else has another opinion than we do. And we should learn to be able to hear other opinions that don't agree with ours and articulate ours back and have a conversation. So this is your conversation on your station every weekday morning between 7:30 and 8:30 a.m. Let's dive in with some weather. We'll be back with news headlines, your comments, and more with some morning check-ins and all that jazz. A lot of good stories in the news today. So it's going to be a power-packed, jam-packed show, or your money back. We'll be back right after this. And weather brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. As usual, currently it's 3 degrees. There's light rain and drizzle out there. Cloudy with a 40% chance of showers today, or drizzle. The wind could be gusting up to about 50 kilometers per hour, so a little windy, high of +5. Tonight, cloudy, 40% chance of rain showers or drizzle, changing to 40% chance of flurries or drizzle near midnight. The low tonight will be +2. Saturday, cloudy, 40% chance of flurries or drizzle, changing to 40% chance of drizzle in the morning, and mild wind, high of +4. And then for Sunday, 1 degree and sunny. Okay, it's still saying that. I'm pessimistic about that, but look, I'll welcome a sunny day any day. Sunday, 1 degree, sunny. Looking forward to it. Then 60% chance of rain or snow on Monday, high of 4. 30% chance of flurries on Tuesday, high of -2. Wednesday, -4, mix of sun and cloud, and 60% chance of flurries on Thursday. So we got the flurries coming in here. We made it almost to December, but we'll see what we got here. There's just a chance, right? So there's still hope. And look at this. Your satellite full of clouds everywhere, and a little bit of that precipitation activity more to the east of Sudbury and on over Ottawa towards the east coast. That's your Sudbury weather, brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. We'll be back with news headlines, your comments, and more right after this. Alrighty, everyone. Thanks for sticking around. And let's see who we have joining us this morning so far on our Romper Room session here. Nana, good morning. Blessings, everyone, exclamation point on YouTube, on Facebook. It's Judy. Good morning to you, Judy. And Monique, good morning. Sudbury with a smiley emoji. Morning, Vin. Thanks for being on. Hope you guys are having a great morning. Marianne from Barrie, liked and shared as usual. Good morning, everyone from Barrie. And Belinda says, good morning. When someone tries to dim your light, remember, darkness speaks about the critic, not criticize. Sorry, darkness speaks about the critic, not criticize. Your character will your character will outweigh any untruth told about you. Sorry if I read that wrong in some ways, but my eyes for some reason this morning aren't the greatest. When someone tries to dim your light, remember, darkness speaks about the critic, not criticize. Your character will outweigh any untruth told about you. Yeah. And that's the thing. I've had times when I've had like people that weren't in my camp for some strange reason. You know, we can never believe why people wouldn't be on board with everything about us, right? But it happens. And you just got to keep your wits about you and just kind of keep doing your thing and just kind of let it roll. And a lot of times it'll just pass. If it doesn't pass and it continues, then that might be the universe telling you you need to kind of maybe have to do something about it, which is never easy, which then takes a whole other layer of contemplation and courage and whatever to face those who might be saying things about you. And there's millions of things you could do. And so you have to really go with your gut, muster up courage, and be your real self, your best self, and face the situation, which is not always easy. I just like to kind of be myself and let it go. And 9 times out of 10, it just kind of dissipates and goes away. And whoever's talking about you, they'll end up talking about someone else. Because if they're talking about you, that means they talk about everybody. And then eventually they'll grapple onto somebody else who's more exciting to talk about behind their back, right? So just hang in there and it'll pass. Okay, Denise, blessings, everyone. Good morning, Denise. And David, good morning. 5 days. You got the whole week, David. You've been on the show. That's awesome. And hope you're having a great morning. Marianne, just an FYI, has everyone seen that the PM is going to arrest the president of Israel if he comes to Canada for war crimes? Well, isn't that calling the kettle black? Wow. I did not know that. He's going to arrest the Israeli president if he comes to Canada. Well, we all know what side Justin Trudeau is on in that thing. I don't take sides myself. But politically, it seems people do take sides, whether it's Palestine or Israel. Usually the left focuses on Palestine and the right focuses on Israel. Just a quick, very generalization of the matter. I do not pick sides. I am not for war, regardless of who it is. I always think there could be peaceful ways to resolve things, cooler heads. But apparently there's lots of money to be made when there's a war. And apparently there's a lot of actors out there in positions of power that, they're going to push things another way. But anyways, no, I did not know that. That is interesting. And, the criticize. Got it. So not the criticized. Yeah, not criticized for sure. So if you read it again, when someone tries to dim your light, remember, darkness speaks about the critic, the criticized. Your character will outweigh any untruth told about you. Thanks again, Belinda. Keep them coming every day. Much appreciated. And David, good morning. Take care. Stay safe. Same to you, David. Hope you're having a good morning, Belinda says, Marianne. Okay. What is he smoking? Talking about the Prime Minister for sure. Okay. This Saturday, 15 people from North Bay will be helping. We'll be in Espanola to get the word out about Bill C. 293 this coming Saturday. A very draconian bill that's, going through Parliament. Bill C. 293. If you haven't heard about it, you need to look it up and do something about it. This coming Saturday, a group led by Melissa Miron will be passing out information about the bill and how harmful it is. Check out killbill293.ca. Cool name, by the way. Killbill293.ca. They figured it could, if they can hand out information door to door, they could actually reach people and speak and pique their interest, because we both know the media isn't going to talk about it. And we talked about that earlier in the show and the reasons why, right? Because our media has become just basically a propaganda arm of the government. Reason being is they're being paid by our government. And that's just the way it is. If your boss is who pays you. So your boss tells you what to do, right? So the boss in this case is the government. It's paying the media. So, and it's not just CBC. CBC is just totally funded by our government, for sure. You can get that from them. But the other media as well is getting millions, if not billions. Are they actually getting billions of your taxpayers' money through the government? And so that's why they will not be covering any of these government bills going through, at least in a unbiased way, right? And good morning, Rick. Thanks for being on. And yes, happy Friday for sure. Marianne says, yeah, more like snorting. He's not smoking, he's snorting. Liette, good morning, everyone from Collingwood. Peace sign. Same to you, Liette. I hope you're having a good morning. And Vince says, agreed. That's why the government wanted to verify Any journalists with over 100,000 followers or 10,000 followers, yes. It's basically an operation to shut down independent media. We know Justin Trudeau has said it many, many times. Why can't we just go back to the day when we just have a couple media outlets that everyone listens to? You know, instead of all these pesky journalists going right now this, he didn't say this last part, but this is what he meant. Instead of all those pesky journalists actually asking me real questions that I don't like, you know, I want to give them the questions to ask me. That way I'm prepared with the answers that I want to give. It's just the way it is. Grand Rising, Monique. Heart emoji. Thanks for being on, Monique. Hope you're having a good morning. And Rick, yes, you got on there twice somehow. I'm not sure. And good morning to you twice. And good morning, folks. That's Pat. Good morning, Pat. Thanks for being on. And got to keep an eye on competition. So that's the government, right? And you always make it harder for your competition. That's what's going on with the media, the independent media, the big media always lobby to get, or the big corporations always lobby the government to make regulations and legislations so that the new people can't come into their industries. It's just age old. That's why there's lobbyists. That's what they do. They lobby government officials to make laws and legislations and policies that make it very hard for competition to come in. And we see this in the media landscape because independent journalists, most people now are turning to them because they find they give them the real story, or they have more to their story than the mainstream media. It just seems like it's just canned news. They're just reading off a teleprompter. No one knows where it comes from. We know where it comes from, but they just read it. They don't really dig. They don't really find. And when they are digging, they're kind of just digging on one side, and it's very biased. There's no doubt about it. And there's so many websites out there that's all they do. They cover bias in the media. And I love these websites. And there's a few of them. I'll talk more about those in coming shows. For those who think, why are you saying media is biased? CBC gives me all sides, or whatever you think. It's very biased. When you understand bias and you know what to look for, you can really tell. We have to be careful because evil plays the good guy, tells us what we want to hear, and makes us feel good. But we know behind our backs what they're really doing is not nice. Oh, that's a nice way of putting it, actually. Vin, with this list of 10,000 followers, you know who to pay if you want a message sent to the public, and the message may not even coincide with what journalists' opinion are. It's always the money, right? And we're almost up to 10,000 followers on our Facebook page, despite a lot of things going on behind the scenes that prevent followers, including my own wife, from following Sudbury.news or Sudbury News on Facebook. She's still not following it amid hundreds of attempts to try and follow it just by clicking. Like you'd think it's how easy it is to follow a page. You just click. But no, it won't allow her to follow it for some strange reason. And I know there's others. If I go to 9 times out of 10, the people on this show are still invited to follow it and are not following this page on Facebook. I see it at the end of every show. You guys like the page, and I go see who liked it, and it says invited, invited, invited. And there's 1 or 2 people out of 20 people who like the show who are actually following. So it shows me that Facebook isn't actually allowing everybody to follow the page for some strange reason. I don't know the reasoning. They don't tell me. People need to get back to trusting their own instincts and critical thinking. Very important. Marianne says, and she doesn't say she says, and at the push of a button, it's taken away, right? Absolutely. I love listening to all opinions. I can make an informed decision that way. I entertain those thoughts, and that's true. That's Denise. If people only knew how evil the government is, that's Monique. And Vin says if they can afford to give temporary reprieve on your taxes, it means you're overtaxed, right? Isn't this like what, 2 months? We're getting a 2-month reprieve on taxes or something. I don't know what all this is about. And then they're going to double the carbon tax rate after that. I saw a little clip with Pierre Poilievre pointing that out yesterday, leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. Vin says the $250 Trudeau is offering in April will cost $400 after interest and inflation is added. It will be a loan or a tool of coercion, embezzled dollar, much like the CERB checks. Yeah. Don't worry, we're shutting everything down, but don't worry, we're going to give you $2,000 a month just to go along with it, right? That's exactly what it was. Can you imagine if they didn't give people those $2,000 checks a month? It would have been anarchy in this country, and rightfully so. Remember, we were only going to shut things down for 2 weeks. Remember that? That's what we were told. Just 2 weeks. And then remember what ended up happening? Over 2 years. Arguably 4 years. People who say they're exposing other people, stay away from them. Okay. Interesting. Unless they're truly doing it for some reason. I think you still have to listen to the information, as you said yourself, right? And okay. A calm sea doesn't make a skilled sailor. So think of the heavens for the stormy weather. So thank the heavens for the stormy weather. Thank you very much, David. And that's 100% true. Calm seas do not make good sailors. Stormy seas do. So whatever you're having in your life that seems challenging, just know that it's building character. It's meant for good. And it's meant for you to figure out a way to navigate it. Okay. Here we're going to just keep moving on here, guys. So keep your comments coming in. Much appreciated. You guys are making this show what it is and making it more robust with your opinions. Let's dive right into some local news. And we'll start off with this one. Northern Ontario Communities. This is from CBC. Northern Ontario Communities compete for limited number of funded heart hubs. These are the government's answer to consumption sites, right? Safe consumption sites for what would be the federal government's kind of harm reduction ideology to feed people drugs in a safe environment, and that's saving their lives. So that's good. So we can pat ourselves on the back and make a lot of money for pharmaceutical companies. Oh, wait, they didn't say that, but that's actually what's happening, right? However, this particular Ontario government has thought maybe rehabilitation is the way we need to go, which will then provide humanity to the human as they live a life free of drugs rather than just safe drugs. And since then, though, it hasn't been rolled out very quickly, and we have several communities in Northern Ontario vying for these. Heart hubs is the acronym, right? Homeless and Addiction Recovery Treatment Centers, HART. I do like the acronym. It does kind of say more of what's involved with the ideology of treating people and helping take out the addiction and the recovery aspect rather than just safe drugs. However, it's coming very slowly, and it would be great if we can hurry this up. But again, I wouldn't want to hurry it up with sacrificing doing it right. So I hope they're going to do it right and have this be a process that works and based on similar processes similar to what Alberta has done with really great results. Just going through some of the stories here on our news aggregator. Now, this is the sad thing. North Bay, it was reported they're actually kiboshing their treatment center that they were in development of. The province pulled the plug on it. Now, maybe that's because it was going to be built in a different fashion from what their heart hubs were going to be. I don't know. But North Bay is pulling the plug on their years-long focus to make a treatment center. And so that's kind of interesting. Not sure, right? Plan for addiction center in North Bay canceled after years of delays. The province has pulled the plug on an addiction treatment center in North Bay. That's from CTV. And as my computer crashes, it's always great when it crashes mid-show. I have to reboot all the programs that are involved in the show. We'll do that on the fly as we cover some stories from Sudbury.com here. And this is like the soapbox. This is where people have a chance to write in to Sudbury.com and share their views on the news, their version of this show, I guess, in written form. The midway point of this term of council has passed, right? So they're looking at city council, the good, the bad, and the ugly over the last 2 years. So it's a halfway point. What have they said? What have they done? Did they do the things they promised? It's been 2 years since mayor and council were sworn in after the 2022 municipal election, and it's a good time to take stock. During that election, candidates responded to community pledges brought to them by 10 diverse community organizations and endorsed by 7 more on the topics of climate change. Got to be first with that, right? That's one of the first things everyone's worried about in Sudbury. Housing, second. Reallocating funds from reallocating funds from policing to services. Reallocating funds from policing to services. Basic mobility, support for community initiatives, truth and reconciliation, and protecting land and water. Are these the main issues facing Sudburians? Well, they are for these advocacy groups, obviously. So advocacy groups, activists, right? So you have activists in advocacy groups that are mobilized to create change or in your communities, right? And Andrew, good morning to you. Thanks for being on. Okay, so these are the main things that this particular organization writing in. Livable Sudbury, I think, is the one that's writing this particular soapbox into Sudbury.com. Of these, Mayor Paul Lefebvre provided updates on housing, truth and reconciliation, and protecting land, water, in his 2-year address. The responses to those pledges were of great interest to the community. Well, I think they were of great interest to these advocacy groups. I don't think necessarily to the community. And informed many community members' votes. Well, I would say the advocacy members' votes. For example, a single Facebook post sharing a pledge results was viewed by around 7,500 people, far above the vote margin determining who became councillor in each ward, and about 15% of the total number of people voting. Now, it's easier to make a Facebook like than it is to go out and vote. So that's not the easiest correlation to make. Or, I mean, it is an easy correlation. However, it's not a factual correlation because, again, it's easier to like a Facebook page than it is to go out and vote. And for some strange reason, it's taking forever to load. There you go. It's now loading. It's now loaded. Lefebvre and 8 councillors pledged to take urgent climate action, specifically pledging to actively champion clear, resourced action plans to meet the short-term targets of 25% greenhouse gas emissions reductions by 2025 and 55% reductions by 2030. We all know that comes from the UN. Nothing to do with local local initiatives. It all comes down from on high. 2 years later, no clear steps have been laid out to reach these 2025 and 2030 targets, and no member of council has put forward a motion directing staff to present such an action plan because I would have to admit they are pie in the sky, and you actually try to implement these things and you're going to shut down the economy of the community, which will then put people in poverty, drive up food bank rates, and people won't be able to afford housing. You'll have more people on the streets, and you'll have more people using drugs to deal with the pain that they have no life anymore. That's probably why they haven't made any motions for these particular goals that were given to us from people that weren't elected to have anything to do with our community and tell us what to do from the UN, right? That's why. And then these advocacy groups are made locally because they want to be doing something for our community, and they believe some of the things that are given to them in mainstream news and have no way to know that it's not true. And they want to do something to help the planet that they're told that it's going to blow up in a few years. And so that's what they're doing. Right? So it looks like Pierrette is on board with what I'm saying here, 100%. And good morning to you, Pierrette. So with new climate disasters in the news every day, that's an interesting one. Leadership on climate change is needed more than ever. We've missed the boat for 2025, but Council will have a good opportunity to provide direction for a clear, resourced action plan to meet 2030 greenhouse gas emissions reduction targets when the next climate action report is presented to them in coming months. There you go. I'll be looking forward to that one. These same members of council made pledges on housing, support for community initiatives, on truth and reconciliation. On housing, they pledged to actively champion achieving functional zero homelessness within 5 years. Good luck with that one. While supporting the dignity and human rights of unsheltered community members. On September 26, 2023, Council directed the city's Community Development Department to develop a strategy to end homelessness in Greater Sudbury by 2030. A roadmap to end homelessness by 2030 was adopted by Council in May 2024 as an official plan to prevent, address, and end homelessness in Greater Sudbury. We've had homelessness in the world ever since there were people, and Sudbury is going to end it. And that's going to be a definite claim to fame as being the first ever community to end homelessness in the history of mankind. That will be one for the ages. As outlined in Lefebvre's 2-year mayoral address, housing is a focus for this council, and steps have been made to take on housing, affordable housing, transitional housing, and shelter needs. With 500 unhoused people to 73 shelter beds, a lack of basic washroom facilities, and a loss of key services such as safe consumption site and a youth shelter. Immediate support for the dignity and human rights of unsheltered community members is a dire need. I have to agree with that one. How we tackle it is another thing, right? The mayor's and again, I'm looking forward to seeing how the city is going to end homelessness by 2030. That's in 6 years. So 5 years. We're just about at 2025. The mayor's recent support of the notwithstanding clause to help municipalities with issues related to mental health, addiction, and homeless encampments has been opposed by community groups and service providers who say that overriding basic charter rights causes more harm than good, and that the focus must remain on resourcing housing, services, and evidence-based approaches. Love that, evidence-based approaches. That's an interesting term Make sure it's evidence-based. Don't just say the words. I always see this word just being thrown out, this hyphenated word, evidence-based. Beware of that word and look into the evidence that they're basing it on. Just to say, because a reporter would normally do that back in the day, when they actually, were rewarded for unpacking things and getting to the bottom of stuff, and not fired and other things for doing that. On support for community initiatives, these members of council pledged to actively champion a one-stop shop for community initiatives with a can-do attitude of providing the support to make great community-led initiatives happen smoothly and easily. A lot there. On January 20th, the city announced a 2-year pilot project for the one-stop resource team to help community groups and volunteers, and called Community Initiatives Partnerships is what it's called. This very welcome resource has some wrinkles to iron out. They always do. At a recent gathering, community organizations shared their experience with community initiatives and partnerships, identifying that it was not functioning as a one-stop resource. And that so this is the thing, when people come out and they say, oh, we got this great plan, blah, 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 and it gets in the news and they're like, yeah, it's so good, and this, that, and the other. No, there's other things to it that aren't good as well. There's usually 2 sides to everything, if not 3 or more. So, identifying that it was not functioning as a one-stop resource, and that being directed to multiple staff, poor communication, rigidity of regulation, slow responses, and other challenges are still making interactions with the city for community projects and efforts difficult. Council has not yet provided clear direction for outcomes and evaluation to get this important one-stop resource working smoothly. The one-stop resource. On truth and reconciliation, they pledged to actively champion implementing the Truth and Reconciliation calls to action, the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls calls for justice. And here you go. And the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples at a local level. For sure, we're always looking at getting the United Nations initiatives implemented at a local level. That's what these advocacy groups do. That's what they're designed to do. Have these initiatives from these higher ups that aren't from our country. They're not elected. Who knows who they even are or their backgrounds, but they make policies and initiatives that these advocacy groups advocate our local politicians, who we do vote in, to make changes according to what they want. They make it sound good. They make it sound exactly what people think it means when it's read out, like I'm doing now. But behind the scenes, they have other intentions, and that is to have more of a chokehold, a grip on communities. That's how you get globalism into your community, right? So the United Nations Declaration, and it sounds good, right? On the rights of Indigenous peoples at the local level. It sounds wonderful. We can do something like that ourselves here. We don't need to be told from unelected globalists, how to do things like that. It's like this one Band-Aid approach for everybody. It never works. It's communism really at its core. One way for everyone to do something. Anyways, I'm digressing from the main point of this story, but couldn't help myself. Finally, the mayor and councillors Signoretti, Benoit, Parent, Labie, and Sizer took the pledge for better protecting land and water, specifically pledging to actively champion protecting land and water, inclusive of a sustainable, equitable, these are UN terms, right? United Nations terms, wanting them to pledge that they're going to follow the United Nations to champion protecting water and land. Inclusive, there's the United Nations term, of a sustainable, again, United Nations, equitable, United Nations, and reliable, full funded model for the stormwater asset management plan and a robust residential inflow and infiltration program to be implemented within this term of council. Now, you have to ask yourself, are these initiatives coming on down from the UN? Do they serve our community well? And we don't have to take them hook, line, and sinker and just carte blanche and everything about them. We can say, that's a great idea you gave us. We're going to do it our way. Let's look at this great idea you have. And let's not sign on to anything that you want us to sign and commit to you to do this. We'll make a commitment to ourselves because this is our community and we're accountable to our constituents. And we'll do it our way in a way that makes sense for our community. Here we go on with the story. In a first for a Canadian municipality, this council aims to meet the goal of protecting 30% of land and water by 2030. And this is probably a United Nations initiative. At the local level, however, council officially endorsed the mayor's task force on 30 by 30 on April 30th, as heard. Hang on here. As heard at a recent update to council this fall, Greater Sudbury submitted its first park sites for official 30-30 recognition. Now, again, I would be aware that this is probably a United Nations initiative for locking up land for their use, not Canada's use and not the community's use. So if anybody is savvy in any legal speak and legal language, and you wanted to uncover that, you could go in and look at the documents of what they're doing with the land here. And if it's a UN initiative, you can bet your bottom dollar it has benefits for them, not for you in doing these things, but they sell it to you like it's for you. You got all these great words in there like sustainable, equitable, all the words I said, but it's not. It's inclusive, right? How can you have water and things that are inclusive? You just throw that word around because everybody thinks, oh, inclusive. That must mean it's good, you know? All right, so 2 years ago, thousands of Greater Sudbury citizens used 2 years ago, thousands of Greater Sudbury citizens used candidates' pledge responses to inform their vote. But democracy is not just about voting. Midway through this term, it is an especially good time to follow up with the mayor and your councillor about the pledges they made to the UN. Oh, sorry, that's not in there, but I'll put that in there. The pledges they made and the issues most important to you. Now, are these issues most important to you? That's what I want to ask. All you people from Sudbury on this, are these the issues that are important to you, the way that they rolled them out? Or are they the issues of these advocacy groups that are based on the UN and NGOs, that they're just basically local versions of NGOs trying to do their bidding here on the local level, right? Can the mask be off? We don't know, right? Are you worried about the greenhouse gases in your community and getting them down like they're talking about? Do you think the most people are? Or do you think most people are going to, in this next carbon tax election, vote the carbon tax away, meaning they're not that concerned about these things, the things that these advocacy groups are saying that people are so concerned about, right? They're advocacy groups. They are people that dedicate their lives, and most of them are paid off by people. They're paid to do these things from higher ups to make sure that they're happening in our local communities, right? And you have to be aware of this. Okay, so here you go. That's unfortunately all the time we got for the show, ladies and gents. And I'm still trying to get my computer up and running so I can properly get the show going for CKLU immediately following the show, because as my computer reboots and all the programs reboot and everything, it's really interesting. And then it shuts down again. The program has a hard time coming back on while we're discussing the news in real time. It's interesting. It's a miracle each and every day, this show, and you guys make it happen with your comments on the stories that we're talking about. Remember, the show is found on demand at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News, twitter.com/Sudbury News, now X, and on our news aggregating website, sudbury.news. You just click on the Sudbury News Talk tab on the top right there, and you can watch the show on demand afterwards. So make sure to like, share, subscribe, follow the channel and the page. A lot of you are still not following, or maybe you're not allowed to follow it. I have no idea. Maybe it's not just not letting you, like it's not letting my wife for some reason on Facebook. But we appreciate you guys being on each and every morning. It's such a great conversation. It's like having getting together at a coffee shop with friends and just chatting about the news. And we're grateful for those people that give us the news, especially our local news, CBC, CTV, Sudbury Star, Sudbury.com. Make sure to check out Sudbury.news so you can check out all of those news organizations all in one, or check out Sudbury.com for sure, because they do a great job covering the news, but check out Sudbury.news because it has all of the news in one convenient location from all of these outlets. We really appreciate the journalists there and all of those involved with bringing us our local news. Thanks, everyone. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. And if you're not able to go to the game tonight between the Wolves and the Guelph Storm, you can catch the game right here on this very station. So make sure to continue to stay aware, like, share, take care, and we'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone. With all of the Santa Claus parades and things going on, check out your local community. There's a good chance you're going to have a Santa Claus parade this weekend. And make sure to enjoy that with your family, and stay safe, and we'll be back same time, same place Monday. Ciao, everyone.